Hi everyone, welcome to Saturday Morning Talk Toons with your host Kwan and
Carlos.
where we talk all things cartoons and anime. For today's episode, we will be discussing the Netflix original anime, yes, anime, because that's what it said, anime series Transformers: War of Cybertron Siege.
Robots in disguise.
We will be discussing the series in depth, so consider this your spoiler warning. If you haven't seen it yet, pause this video and then go watch it real quick and then come back and then listen to what we had to say about it. All right, so the series is the first of a trilogy that follows a war between two races of robots on the alien planet of Cybertron as they search for the mystical artifact known as the Allspark. So, Carlos, since you have definitely more history with Transformers than I do, because I'm purely a 90s kid. So, I grew up with Beast Wars. And then I didn't get into Transformers until Transformers Animated came out, which at that time I think I was 18 in college. So that's when I got into it. Start us off about like your feels and stuff.
Okay, this is definitely another well done series. I have a couple of critiques on it, but yeah, you're right. But what I can say about Transformers is that throughout the years, it has definitely evolved. Yes, I've also watched Beast Wars. I've also watched Transformers Animated, and also another Transformers Prime, I believe. And all I can say is that it's definitely this series is probably the prelogue to how the Autobots probably left Cybertron, because this is definitely very similar to like the original that started in the 80s. And instead of compacting it in one 20-minute episode of them leaving, this definitely is more detailed about how they left, why they left, and whatnot. So
Nice. All right. So the series does start off with Bumblebee and Wheeljack.
also, just wanted to add that's how the original, the very first pilot episode started off with Bumblebee and Wheeljack going for Energon.
Yeah. Now Bumblebee was hired to find Energon, and the thing is, I don't know. I really didn't like Bumblebee's attitude, like the personality they gave him in the beginning, because he's got like a bit of like a like, oh, I don't care, I'm a loner type like personality, and it's like, dude, your name is Bumblebee, like stop trying to act all tough and stuff, like but I guess he's about that life.
And I was a little bit more open minded to it only because, again, it's just to my comment of the evolution of Transformers. So if they wanted to give Bumblebee a little bit more attitude, I was kind of cool with that. And the fact that he was more of a mercenary scavenger, Energon scavenger,
hmm
okay, yeah, let's go with it.
Yeah, it eventually did grow on me. I just think that like it just threw me off because I was more used to Bumblebee being like more of like this positive like person the entire time. So to kind of see him with this obvious chip on his shoulder, it was like a little jarring at first. Like whoa.
Not to,
However, they quickly get discovered by Starscream and his team of Seekers, right?
Right, they were the Seekers. Starscream was second in command in the original, and this one they changed it a little bit. But it's so funny. They definitely didn't change his personality. Frank Todaro, who voiced Starscream, and it's not the first Starscream he's voiced. He's actually done a couple of Starscreams already in different forms of Transformers. Uh, but what's really funny about it is that they still kept the same personality. He's still the same. He still wants to be leader. In this case, he wants to be the leader of the Seekers. But so he wants to, instead of getting Megatron's job, which is how it's always been, he wants to get Jetfire's job. We'll talk about Jetfire in a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, because currently Jetfire is like the leader of the Seekers.
Mhm.
And in the end, like, Starscream, he has like more like extreme, I guess, in terms of like how he views this war and like how he wants to go about like how he wants to go about it.
Mhm.
And it seemed like that he was gonna like kill Bumblebee and Wheeljack, and
Yeah.
then that's when Jetfire stepped in and like sliced off like his little arm cannon
Mhm.
situation he had going on there to keep him from killing them.
Yeah, and something interesting about Jetfire, and because originally going back to the original episode, and it is true, they actually his name was actually Skyfire,
Mm.
and Skyfire was friends with Starscream. There was this episode that showed like how Skyfire came to Earth, and Starscream was like, "Oh, I actually know him," and so they used to work together. The thing is, they changed it to Jetfire. It's kind of funny. I felt like I had a Mandela effect because when I saw him, I said Jetfire, but I was like, no, his name's actually Skyfire. Something actually you would appreciate it. Something about the toys. That's why they changed the name. So
Yeah, overall, Jetfire is a really interesting character throughout this series, but we'll discuss that more. as more things about him pop up. But it's kind of like off the bat. There's a part of me that's like, how did like I don't want to like talk about it just yet, but it's like how did he get to this place? Like when his views on like how this war and him being a Decepticon right now is vastly different than the other Decepticons. I just found it interesting. But shortly or quickly after, I should say, then that's when Megatron shows up, makes an appearance right then and there.
Megatron, who's voiced by Jason Marnoka, and again, this guy's been in the business for a good while, and he, again, not the first Megatron he's done. He's done a lot of Megatrons throughout the series. But yeah, and something about this Megatron is that he definitely has a lot of pride.
Mhm.
What would you say?
No, I agree with that. I mean, I don't. I will say that I feel like, in a weird way, this Megatron wasn't as menacing as other Megatrons. I really like the one from Transformers Prime because I feel like he felt a lot more scarier just in his
Mhm.
overall character design, how menacing he was compared to this one.
No, very true. Because going back to other forms, like Megatron's, like they've always had that maniacal, deceitful effect, but this one has a honor, a pride of honor. That's what I wanted to say. Oh, and also something to add that this version was very interesting because when Megatron does transform, he transforms into a tank, which
Hmm.
I think started with like the Generation 2 toy line series. Because
Hmm.
originally he was a gun, and then Transformers animated in the movie he was a helicopter. But I like the fact that he is a tank in this version.
Yeah, but in because you have Megatron, of course, Optimus Prime, like he comes to the situation.
The rescue.
Yeah, and then both him and Megatron end up like duking it out for a little bit.
Yeah. Also, again, this is where I'm gonna go with some of my critique. First of all, big props to the voice actor of Optimus Prime, Jake Fushi. Oh man, I swore up and down that this was Peter Cullen, who was the original voice actor for Optimus Prime, and he's done it for the movies and so many others. I think Transformers Prime as well. And Peter Cullen's just got that amazing voice. And as I'm listening to this version of Optimus, I was like, oh, they got him back for the job. And come to my find out, it was this young newcomer named Jake Fushi, who I think not only Peter Cullen would be proud, but if this will be the new mantle, Jake Fushi will probably carry the new mantle of Optimus Prime.
Yeah, so as they're duking it out, like one thing that comes up is that apparently Megatron had murdered their mentor, Alpha Trion.
Yep.
So it's like okay, so there's some clues in terms of background there, but Megatron, as he's like, he gets to a point where he's winning the match and he's beating up Optimus Prime, and then that's when Alita comes in and pretty much like ends up saving the day because her role with the team is like she's a sniper, so she was already far away. She had a gun set up and pretty much was just like shooting all over the place to kind of break up the fight. So they were able to the Autobots were able to get out. Well, Bumblebee also followed them, even though
Mhm.
he keeps saying I am not an Autobot and I am not a Decepticon. I'm my own thing. I'm unique and an individual.
And one of the critiques that I was going to mention was that even when Optimus Prime came in, uh, I feel like they're already in their earthly forms. They didn't.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. The Seekers, they were definitely in their Cybertronian form. Like when you see
Hmm.
them, they're definitely Cybertronian. But everybody else, they're in their Earth forms, which I found kind of interesting. So it's okay. Like I said, it's just a small critique. So.
You're definitely right about that. I think it was well, definitely Optimus Prime,
Mhm.
and I want to say Hound, like who shows up in like a little bit, couple more
Right.
episodes later. They definitely fully had their Earth modes because I was looking at like other merchandise and stuff that's based off of
Yeah.
this series to kind of confirm that way because we also don't see them that often like in their vehicle modes as
No,
much.
no, actually, I noticed that too. And it was funny too because going back to episode one, I was actually really excited to see Bumblebee transform into Cybertronian form because in the original, he transforms to like this little saucer, like
Hmm.
little flying saucer thing, and so does Wheeljack. It's not a flying saucer, but it's kind of like definitely a Cybertronian vehicle. So very interesting. But yeah,
So the Autobots with Bumblebee, they end up making it back to their fortress,
base.
their to base.
Yeah, the arc.
And yeah, and then that is where we first, that's where we get introduced to Ultra Magnus.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's so funny about Ultra Magnus. Like, okay, going back to Ultra Magnus's first debut, which was in the Transformers movie. Yeah, I loved Ultra Magnus. He was cool. He was a very loyal soldier. But in other forms, it was kind of funny that I was just not a big fan of Ultra Magnus. Like Transformers animated, I couldn't
Mhm.
stand him there.
And see, that's the funny thing. That's actually my favorite incarnation of Ultra Magnus, is because he had like that hammer and like the electric powers and stuff.
Mm.
That was to me that was so cool, and I really liked him being like a straight up villain with like with his Thor hammer situation. I thought that was pretty cool. I remember him as what I could be wrong. Also jog my memory if I'm correct me if I am. But in like the fourth and the fifth season of Transformers, when Rodimus was the leader of the team, so we had Rodimus and RC and Springer. It's like that one. He was part of that team, wasn't he?
No, no, yeah. Well, Ultra Magnus wasn't a. You said villain. I thought that was
No,
gonna
no, no.
say
Like
that.
he was a good guy in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
one.
No, well, he was also a good guy in anime. He was just a cocky,
Oh,
arrogant.
okay,
Yeah, he
yeah.
was
He was
just cocky,
yeah.
arrogant. No, but
He
you
wasn't
are.
like a Decepticon. He was
No,
just
no,
yeah.
he was never, and that was the thing. He was never really a bad guy, and also like the original, he was definitely a Boy Scout. In the animated, he just had this arrogance to him that I couldn't stand, and I didn't like the way he treated Optimus.
Yeah.
So
But now that we're at the base, that's the when we find out that we're running out of energon.
right, and this is one of our cool intros, an intro of Red Alert and Sideswipe.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty cool because I didn't collect a lot of toys, but Transformers was definitely my toy collection when I was a kid.
Hmm.
And it is funny because Red Alert and Sideswipe actually toy wise they're actually like the same design, just different colors. So
Yeah.
Red Alert is this like medical vehicle.
Yeah, he's kind of serving as like the team medic for right now. And yeah, there was like this interesting moment between him and Bumblebee, and it's like, what's going on, B? Do you have something you wanna tell us, Red Alert? Like, but yeah, he just because he noticed Bumblebee, he's
Right.
like new, and he kind of realizes that, oh hey, you have some damages like to your leg or something.
Uh,
So let me like check that out for you, buddy.
Actually, it's funny that you mentioned about the damages. Something that was really, really cool about this detail in as far as I guess the artwork was they put scars on the characters and rust, and which was made it more realistic because the Autobots and Decepticons they are soldiers, they are fighting a war, so it makes sense that they would have battle scars
Hmm.
and some rust because they are robots. So I thought that little bit of realism was
Hmm.
pretty cool.
Yeah, so like going back to Ultra Magnus real quick, both him and Optimus Prime seem to have some disagreements in how they want to go about ending this war. And so because of that, Ultra Magnus just was like fed up, like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go speak to the Decepticons myself and see what that can bring.
Yeah, that was funny, and this was like, great, Ultra Magnus being a jerk. I mean, I was a little wrong, but like I said, I was like, I was
Well,
a
I mean, okay. So the thing is, he had good intentions.
yes,
Yeah, yes,
I
aggravating
agree.
because like he just went and did it, but he had good intentions. He was trying to see if he could reason with the Decepticons instead of like them constantly like duking it out. Especially because you have to understand that the reserves are now low. This war has been going on forever. So
Right.
it's like okay, I get like why he kind of did that.
I do too. I do too. That's why I said like after, but it was when he went off and did it. Yeah, I was mad, but the way he handled it with Megatron,
Hmm.
I give him a little bit of credit.
And then, okay, so at this point, Alita One, she is now appointed as the new
Second in command.
well, yeah, the new head of military operations because that was Ultra Magnus' role. But since he had left to go talk to Decepticons, our team of Autobots, they think that he just like flat out like
Hmm.
left them and is now like with the Decepticons purely.
Right, and without the Autobots knowing, Ultra Magnus does in his defense, he actually does try to reason with Megatron, and this I gotta hand it to Megatron because this version is he's has a little bit more honor because he actually is willing to listen to Ultra Magnus. He is um like willing to sit down with him and just listen to terms or whatnot. Really quick, this is something that I thought was really cool in the after Alita One became second in command. They did their other Easter egg of "Till all are one." And I thought that was really cool because going back to the Transformers movie, that was really big. Till all are one, and that it's about the Autobot matrix of leadership. You know.
Yeah, and so the thing is, with okay, so it's canon in terms of Optimus Prime and Elita One being a couple,
Mm.
and like there's slight hints of this in the movie. Well, I don't think they were trying to hide it. There was just no real emphasis on it. But my issue is that Optimus Prime was so, for lack of better words, he was so robotic. He was so robotic the entire time as as Alita One is like in her way expressing that she's concerned for him and like him dying and stuff, and like he doesn't seem to show that back to her. And then that was kind of an issue I had with Optimus Prime overall. Is that he just was way too robotic. Like all the other Autobots and Decepticons, they have personality, and I
Yeah.
feel like with him, he was just lacking it. It's like so much of it, and it makes me think about like I don't know, maybe if they was to have alter his design a bit to remove the face shield that he has.
I love the face
Because,
shield.
well, the reason why, I mean, that's the thing. Maybe it's because I'm spoiled, and I'm like,
Animated.
I had like, Transformers Animated and Transformers Prime. He doesn't. He wears it only in battle, and that's
Hmm.
something that I just got used to. Or even in the Michael Bay films, like he does. He only
Yeah,
wears it
it's
in
true.
battle.
It's true.
So
And
I kind of, if we could have seen a face, then it's like, okay, I can relate to you better. But it just made him feel super robotic. And him expressing stuff, just everything was very robotic with him. It's just like womp womp, for a lot of stuff. But going back to our Decepticons,
right.
we have
Yeah, the introduction of Shockwave.
yeah,
Yeah, I thought this was pretty interesting because in the original Shockwave, like yeah, he was definitely like one of Megatron's top commanders, like at least on the Cybertron base. But this is funny because Shockwave has evolved throughout the years, and like even though he was pretty evil back then, he's gotten more. I feel like he's gotten more evil as the years go by. Transformers Animated, he killed Blur. Like he, I don't know how well you remember, but a
yeah. I
Blur,
think I sufficed
yeah. Oh, okay. Because
that.
I mean, the way he murdered Blur was like ridiculous. I was like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. And if you guys don't know or didn't watch it, basically he put Blur in a trapped version and trash compacted him. But
Yeah.
anyway, in this version, he's just an evil scientist, and like he has this idea to use the Allspark in the Matrix and to reform all the Transformer robots, because that's what he's talking about with Megatron, and to make like pretty much like brainwash all of them and make them all drones and make them do what Megatron wants. But luckily, this is where Megatron again has a little bit of honor, and he's like, "No, oh wait, no, I guess I'm wrong." Okay,
No, 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 no. Because what happened? Like the original plan for Shockwave was that he brought up the theory of the Allspark,
right,
and then he also mentioned about wanting to create like a energy wave
right,
carrying like a virus that was going to reformat
yeah,
the
reformer,
Autobots. And so that was the plan. And that's when Ultra Magnus was like, "Oh snap! Let the team know about this." And he's gonna send them like a secret message.
right, and that's why I was saying like Megatron was originally not gonna do
Oh,
it,
okay.
but you're right, Ultra Magnus found out about it, and yeah, you're right, tries to signal, and that's when we find out later, like Soundwave Operation Interception.
Yeah. So he ends up intersecting that message, and then ends up sending the Autobots like a false message just as a means of setting them up, which was a really smart plan actually.
Yeah, I know it really was. The Decepticons definitely trapped the Autobots in that one.
And then unfortunately, the Autobots they fell for the trap and they end up going out there and then they had to fight the Decepticons.
Hmm.
And then from there, that's when one of the Decepticons, Impactor,
Right.
he ended up getting injured during the battle.
Also, really, this was a. I'm going to talk more about this one later, but there was a quick another Easter egg one of Reflector again going back. He in Reflector in the original, he was three Decepticons and he formed the camera.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so here, I mean, he didn't transform, but he was just a robot form. But I'm going to talk more about that one later. But go ahead, going back to Impactor.
Yeah, so the thing is, the Decepticons, what they did was there actually was like some energon that was there in the trap, like to kind of make it more convincing. And then after the battle was over with, essentially the energon was gone. And they're like, wait, who took the energon? It's like, well, the Autobots don't have it, the Decepticons don't have it, so that leaves us with Bumblebee has it.
Neither Autobot nor Decepticon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then when as he's walking away with the raw energon, moving to like episode 3, this is where Megatron decides to go with the plan of reformatting.
And then that's when we have an intro to
Ratchet. So yeah, Ratchet again, going back to the original. He was also the medic, repair guy for the Autobots. So in here, he still pretty much plays the same role, only he's doesn't really pick a side, and he does find Impactor, and he does goes and help him.
Yeah, and that's the thing because he is a doctor essentially. That like he kind of has that oath of like what's like Hippocratic or oath or something like that. It's pretty much like well, not gonna tell what your injuries are to anybody, but also that hey, I'm gonna help any and everyone regardless of race, creed, and stuff like that. So that's kind of like the role of Ratchet and why he is also neutral in this fight,
Hmm.
even though he is technically an Autobot. I think he had
No,
Autobot
yeah,
symbol.
neutral is a
But
perfect
yeah,
word.
he was gonna willing to help any and everybody. But he also had this rule that hey, if I scratch your back, then you gotta help me scratch the backs of other people. Meaning that if I help you, if I bandage you back up and whatnot, you have to also be willing to help out,
Right.
help others who are sick and hurting as well.
Exactly. That's his deal. Like I help you, you're gonna help. You're gonna be my assistant and help me to help others. So, and then we get another intro of
Hmm.
another Autobot, which is Prowl. I think you were mentioning. No, sorry, Prowl or.
No, it's Prowl.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, Prowl's the one we get an intro to, and once again. I mean, I like this Prowl, but I also like the Prowl from Transformers Animated because he was a
Oh
motorcycle
yeah.
and he was a ninja and then he became a samurai, and I thought that was really really cool. But I think that identity is also given to Drift. I think's his name from the comics. But
Okay.
anyway, I just thought that was really cool. So I've always liked Prowl because of that, even though he is just a police car and that's it.
Mhm.
But I've always liked Prowl's character because it's like, oh, cool, like he's like a ninja or something like that. Well, in the
No,
G1 series, he isn't.
no, yeah, no, you're right though. I love the fact that in animated that he had this cooler vibe to him. Like, and it was also funny because he was also very like also a stiff kind of like he was very
Hmm.
by the book.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, his ninja skills was on par.
Yeah, and so at this point, Optimus Prime, this is when he ends up coming up with a plan to remove the Allspark from Cybertron.
Right.
Now,
No, go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
now this is very, very concerning because legend says that removing the Allspark essentially will kill Cybertron.
Hmm. No, yeah, you're right. And the plan was not only to use the Ark itself, their base to escape, but to use the space bridge
Hmm.
to get out of Cybertron as well. And yeah, this is another where Optimus and Alita they're debating about this because they don't know if the lore is true.
Yeah. However, when it comes back to the Decepticons, right, and their plan to reformat the Autobots, Starscream isn't down with that.
No, right, because he's like, "Oh, can you imagine them, one of us?" But again, it's so funny because this goes back. Well, first Starscream was attacking Jetfire. Now he's attacking Megatron, like by words. When I say attacking, I mean by words, and he's belittling him. And again, that's a very typical Starscream. So,
Yeah, that's the thing with Starscream is that, granted, I really liked him in this.
no, yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. I think like a lot of times with Starscream's character, like I don't know, like he just kind of gets on my nerves a little bit
Mm.
because it's just like oh, like he's like the villain lackey that just gets like like pushed around a lot. And this one, yeah, he did, but it's like he was like a true like 100% villain because as he's talking about like oh no, we don't want those nasty like Autobots to be reformatted to Decepticons. That kind of like has these like I don't know, like Decepticon supremacy type vibes. Like, because the thing is, something that's never really like brought up, and we'll talk about it a little bit more
No, those
as it comes
are.
up, is that, obviously this is like a whole situation of racism because they're like, these two sides that completely hate each other, but
Mhm.
they're both robots, but they're just different races of robots that hate each other. And the thing is, you have Starscream, who's just flat out like, "Oh no, we're not gonna reformat them because they're not like pure blooded, like
You
Decepticons
mean
like
pure
us."
oiled? You mean
Yeah, pure
pure
oiled.
oiled?
They're not pure oiled. They're not pure oiled Decepticons like us. So like they're going to taint our race and things like that. And it's just like, whoa, like this is the making of a true villain because like he has some really dark, genocidal,
Yeah.
like just like
No, in
pure
tendency, in
blood,
tendencies.
yeah,
Yeah.
supremacy, colonization. Like it's like he had like they have that mindset. It's like wow. So I'm not even though I don't like obviously like people in the like throughout history who are like that. It's like I feel like those are like always those key traits that make a really great villain. All right, so from there,
Actually, this next scene I really liked. Mirage. They changed it. Originally, Mirage had a special ability to turn himself invisible. In this version, he uses holograms to just hologram to change himself, like to make himself look different. Because remember, he was disguising himself to the Decepticons.
yeah.
So, what was the plan? It was to,
Yeah, so going back to the plan real quick, because
oh,
if you remember, Optimus Prime, like that's when he came up with the plan to remove the Allspark from Cybertron. And one thing that we've got to mention was that episode one, both Wheeljack and Bumblebee they come across the like a space bridge, but it wasn't operational at
oh,
the
right,
time.
right. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah, so the thing is, as Wheeljack, he suggests that hey, like, let's fix the space bridge and we'll use that. But the best person to fix it would be
Ratchet.
Ratchet. And so that's essentially who we went on the quest to find real quick.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, with Mirage stepping in and using his ability to disguise himself as a Decepticon, unfortunately he wasn't able to keep it up for long,
No.
which resulted in another battle between the Autobots and the Decepticons. And then from there, the Autobots managed to get away from the Decepticons, and then that's when they end up finding Ratchet in the
Right.
process.
The Autobots try to recruit Ratchet, but again, like we said, Ratchet will only join if the robots are in need of help. And then between the Autobots and Ratchet, they actually have like an argument where it gets a little heated, and then it's funny, out of nowhere, Impactor
Hmm.
actually stops. Actually, I believe it was Mirage, and this is really cool of Impactor, and again, because he's actually very loyal to Ratchet.
Yeah.
Because Ratchet. Oh, go ahead.
No, this is yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Like that's the interesting thing about I guess this movie is that in the past I remember from the G1 series that it was all like
Good
this
or evil.
Autobots good, Decepticons bad.
Right.
And in this one you do see that even with the Decepticons that there is like Decepticons that like they have a sense of loyalty. Even though they are Decepticons, they're obviously trying to win the war for their side. The thing is they have this sense of honor and loyalty, which is really cool. But I think it was Mirage but Mirage was just like, "Oh, you smelly, like
Right.
Decepticon, you impactor. I don't like you." And it's just like, dude, you see, he's like helping out and stuff, and you're giving him a hard time. Oh, that's right, because y'all racist. Like it's like the Autobots, y'all racist. Decepticons, y'all racist, except for like Impactor and Jetfire. But it's it is what it is. They're like, oh, like don't like that robot over there.
Right. But luckily, Ratchet is able to put them a little bit at ease and say, no, like Impactor is here to help.
Yeah, and then that's when it's revealed that hey, I help everybody, as long as they, are good robots and want to like, pay it forward. I'm gonna help everyone. However, Ratchet also agrees to repair the
The
space.
space bridge,
Yep.
right? Yeah. Now moving a little forward, we're going back to Decepticon base, and they're torturing Ultra Magnus.
Yeah. Oh, but one thing too I want to bring up
Go
is
ahead.
that Ratchet actually has some conflicts with with fixing the space bridge because he fears, foreshadowing, that the war between the Decepticons and the Autobots may spread to other planets.
That's right. I did forget about that. Yeah, very important
But
part.
yeah, you're right. Meanwhile,
Yeah, the torture. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, Ultra Magnus is being tortured.
Yeah, no, and he's being tortured for info. And at this point, Magnus actually breaks free. Uh, but there's this moment, and again, we talked about honor, and again, it's because they're soldiers, and even as soldiers, they have this sense of honor because Magnus could have shot Megatron right in the back. Probably could have ended this war because killing the leader of the Decepticons.
Yeah.
But because Megatron's back was turned, Ultra Magnus just couldn't do it.
Yep. And then that's when Megatron tells him the lesson of always take the shot.
Oh yeah. So.
But someone who did take the shot is Jetfire because both him and Skywarp they end up discovering the base for the Autobots. And okay, this is weird. Okay, so Skywarp, he's part of the Seekers, and he's like, oh yeah, must tell Megatron, we're going to we're gonna rise up the Decepticon forces and destroy the Autobots. We now found their home base. Okay, it sounds like a typical thing you would do in war and battle. And then Jetfire's all like, oh, you're talking about genociding a whole race? And I'm sitting here like, bruh, where have you been? For you to have become this general commander person of the Seekers, right? And you've been fighting this war, it's like, do you not understand? I don't get it. Your whole plan was to destroy the Autobots. Megatron has been saying this forever, and it's just not hitting you that that you're gonna have to destroy a whole race of people to win, because that's what Megatron wants. I don't know. I was kind of thrown for that. However, Jetfire, he decides oh no, I must stop Skywarp from sending this message. So let me shoot him and injure him. So he doesn't do that. However, I do believe Skywarp did survive and managed to run back.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you said, Jetfire took the shot. Skywarp ended up transform and flew off. But you remember there was that trail of smoke, so Jetfire did get him good. But forwarding a bit when Skywarp did make it, he did deliver the message, but with his final words, he pretty much died.
Yeah, and once again, it goes back to, okay, so Jetfire seems to have an issue with killing the Autobots, but he doesn't seem to have the same issue killing and hurting other Decepticons, which is especially ones that are part of his team and thus he should be closer with. So it's make it make sense.
Again, I guess writers are just trying to make it good for good storyline, and so who knows?
Yeah. So going back, well, we're already with the Decepticons. Right. All right, so Ultra Magnus, he ends up taking the Decepticons to this temple that's supposed to house what they wanted, and then but it actually ended up being completely empty. Megatron's mad, understandably so. He's he decided to take the shot, right. And Ultra Magnus, he did.
Oh yeah, but this time Megatron, he didn't take the shot in the back. He literally killed Ultra Magnus right in front. So.
Yeah, and then once that happened, we had this really cool scene.
Yeah, the lights leave Ultra Magnus's body, and it finds its way to Bumblebee.
Yeah, so it was kind of to describe it to you, it was the spirit bomb, but kind of maybe in reverse. And so
that's a good reference. So, but yeah, and honestly, later on we find out that those lights, the reason being was what Ultra Magnus was actually holding inside of him was the Alpha Trion protocol.
Yeah, and so this happened right after Bumblebee. Remember, when we left off with him, he had the raw energon, and he ended up selling that, so that's gone. But yeah, this is when the Alpha Trion protocols ended up activating within him.
Right. Moving a little forward, Starscream got the message from Skywarp, and Starscream immediately tattles to Megatron.
Well, the thing is, he did it right in front of me. He did it right in front of Jetfire. Which, once again, Jetfire is how you gonna be shocked? Why are you shocked? I don't understand. It's I do not understand a lot of the moves of Jetfire's character. Even though I really liked him surprisingly, but it's as we're sitting here talking about it, it's this didn't make any sense. You didn't think this out clearly, did you? Because he went back to Decepticons and they're oh where's what's his name?
Skywarp.
Yeah, where's Skywarp? Who? I don't know. And then Starscream shows up he killed him. I saw him. Yeah, he did it. And then and then Jetfire's sitting there what? Who? Me? But yeah, like
Yeah.
he completely outed him on that one.
Yeah. So, and it's very typical Starscream. So, something that I got to give credit is that personality-wise, they did keep Starscream the same. Like, very ambitious, very arrogant, opportunist.
Hmm.
So, but yeah. Moving forward, like we. Oh, go
Oh yeah.
ahead.
Well, no. Well, at this point, as you can imagine, there was another battle that broke out. So this was like the remainder of the Seekers,
Yeah.
and the Seekers, they end up like essentially fighting Jetfire. They manage
Right.
to like shoot at him, and he like goes down.
Yeah, and mind you, Jetfire is a much bigger jet than the others because so probably that's why he can actually take the hit a little better and probably outfly them all. To be honest.
Yeah. But yeah, from there, Bumblebee he has
Uh,
the Alpha Trion protocols. He makes it
yeah,
back to.
but he's also trying to compute everything that he has because he's just like, whoa, what just absorbed into me?
Mhm.
What did I absorb? I'm trying to compute all this data, and he is just like, he's just a little freaked out, like because he has no idea what just happened.
Yeah, and then in the meanwhile, the Autobots, it was like Mirage, Ratchet, Impactor, Sideswipe, and Chromia. They make it back. They no, the plan is for them to go to the bridge,
Mm-hmm.
to the space bridge,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the meanwhile, Optimus Prime. Now I really like this scene. It's a really cool scene.
I
He's
like
trying to
it.
get like guidance in terms of what to do at this point, and so first. He ends up going to the Guardians to have a conversation with them to see if they will like help and go ahead.
No, I just thought it was so cool because when we talk about the Guardians, you see these giant silhouette figures,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, the first thing I said was like, "Is it Omega Supreme?" And it's not just one; it's three. There's like three Omega Supremes, which I didn't even know there was more than one. But again, these are just silhouettes. We'll talk more later about it.
Yeah, and the silhouettes are really cool too because like you see these big structures on their backs and like they're just silhouettes in the fog. So it's really cool because it like adds to the overall lore of Cybertron, which is something I love. I love building. I love lore, but they also I guess it's something in a weird way kind of angelic about them because of those structures on
Yeah,
their back.
yeah,
And
agreed.
so it kind of added to like the whole like like the mysticalness of like what they potentially were.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, go ahead. No, go.
no, I was gonna say, so going back to Decepticons, Starscream, he is now promoted. He is now leader of the
Right.
Seekers.
Opportunist, man. Like, as soon as Megatron says, Starscream, you are now my new leader of the Seeker, it goes back to an episode in the original Transformers. There was a scene where Megatron gets shot, and like, it was just a shot. So he's like, oh, I lost my equilibrium. And then finally, like, opportunist Starscream, Megatron has fallen! I, Starscream, am your new leader! And and like just and like it's kind of funny because there's even this scene if you saw Soundwave, he does a head
Yeah,
what do you call this?
I don't know, like
A
a
head palm
yeah,
smack.
yeah,
So
face palm.
face palm, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and so Bumblebee shows up and he's like at the base and he's just like flipping out and whatnot. And then then Optimus Prime is like, oh wait, you have the Alpha Trion Protocol. Oh, that's awesome. Like so, go into like this meditative state in order to talk to Alpha
Try on.
Trion. So he does that, and then he ends up talking to him. And then when he comes back, he's like, I know where the Allspark is. And then that's when Jetfire appears and he's all injured and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's all like, I want to join your side. And obviously they're like, wait a minute, you're a Decepticon. We can't trust you. But yeah, he's quick to be like, I want to side with the Autobots, which once again, is like, Jetfire, we're like, what are you doing? Like, I don't get it. Like, I understand that, okay, this is the other safe space, like, safe place to go to. But I also kind of feel like he could have just gone rogue and just lived out his life as, like, a loner. He still wants to participate in this war. Now, Impactor said this, and I think that this also goes for Jetfire, that it's what is it, their honor, or it comes from a place of they just want to do what's best for Cybertron,
Right.
apparently. Okay,
So
I guess you can use that.
yeah, in Jaffa's defense, I wouldn't advise going rogue. Honestly,
Mm,
I think picking a side is like we already acknowledged that he doesn't agree with genocide, and maybe before, the more I think about it, maybe the reason before was we're only doing this war just to just to get the Autobots to understand our side.
Hmm.
But then he realizes, no, Megatron is going to go too far. He's going to commit genocide. So that's when, like, oh, you know what? Maybe the Autobots.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I wish I was clearer though, because that also explains why Ultra Magnus did the thing that he like, kind of like why he went to go reason with them in the first place.
Right.
That actually makes sense. I wish that they made that a little bit more clear though.
You know.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I talked about that more in my final critique.
You got it.
But yeah, from there, so Shockwave, he has the virus.
Oh, wait, 1 second, really quick.
Oh yeah.
The Allspark. Wait a minute. Oh no, yeah, Allspark is currently in the Sea of Rust.
Oh yeah, that's right. So yeah, that was what we ended up learning in terms of where the Allspark was. And then from there, this Soundwave, the virus that we mentioned before, that was supposedly supposed to shut down the Autobots protocol. Well, he managed to have a version of that, but it is yeah. So he has that virus.
Right. Actually, before we
Go
talk
ahead.
about the right virus, so the with that being said, Allspark is currently in the Sea of Rust,
Mhm.
and apparently this is where a good timing for Jetfire to join the team because even though no Autobot has survived the Sea of Rust,
Yeah.
uh, Decepticons have.
Hmm.
So Jetfire has knowledge. So this is where Jetfire is also very important into the Autobot team because now he can lead them the way. And then also the Autobots have like multiple plans. One plan is to gain the Allspark. The other plan is to repair the space bridge.
Yep.
So Ratchet gets the space bridge working. I think that's what happened. They finally get it to work.
Hmm.
And but the funny thing is like okay, we got this working, but how do we hide it? Because the Seekers do constant patrol.
Yeah.
I love this style because Mirage, again, he not only can hologram himself, he can hologram everything. So I thought it was really cool. Naruto fans, so he goes summoning style, like he like
Yeah. Shadow
place
clones.
yeah place his hands on the floor, summoning jutsu style, and Mirage just made a hologram of the whole cloaking the space bridge of like making it look like it's not working even though it really is working.
Yeah, so with all that going on, another part of the plan is that unfortunately the Autobots, as we talked about before, they have like no energon practically. So they have to go get some. And then that's when three of our characters, so we get intro to RC. So RC, Cog, and Bumblebee, they're going to meet up with,
Sorry, Sound Blaster.
yeah, in order to try to get some energon.
Hmm. Oh, and just to add to Shockwave's plan of the virus, it just shows how evil Shockwave really is. You know, because he's
Hmm.
going to use Ultra Magnus's body to shut down
Hmm.
everything that the Autobots have been working on.
Yeah. One thing that's really funny though, going back, to the trio that was trying to get the energon, is that like before they were let into that area, they had to get like a scan done to make sure they didn't have any weapons.
Oh yeah,
And Cog gets scanned, but like
he
Cog, he is a weapon. Like
yeah.
everything about him is just a giant weapon, and it's just like, do you not see the giant blasters that are a part of his body? And it's like that's a weapon.
They were just talking about handguns. That's
Oh,
it.
oh, okay, yeah. That's the only thing we have to worry about.
But yeah. Also, going to actually, we'll talk about Sound Blaster a little later.
Yeah.
Something that was really cool is going to the Sea of Rust. Sorry. That Jetfire is leading the convoy of the vehicles.
Yeah, but a big reason why is because in the Sea of Rust, like there's like a lot of stuff going on. There's this lightning storm.
Hmm.
There's and then after the lightning storm, there's like some vortexes, and the vortex is like sucking up stuff. It ends up sucking up Prowl, and then like Jetfire, he comes to rescue, and he managed to save Prowl. And then when he did that, that's when. So in order to kind of keep Jetfire under control, like Autobots, they had this plan. It's pretty much like a detonator that they had, and then pretty much if Jetfire like was going to betray them, because remember he's the Decepticon, that they were going to use that to like blow him up and like destroy him. So since he had already proven himself, because now he saved Prowl, he's also taken them like through the Sea of Rust. They're like, you know what? Here's the detonator. You don't have to worry about it. Like we trust you now. And yeah, so he
Moving.
finally gained their trust.
Yeah, and moving forward, we get another intro of an Autobot, Ironhide. because we're going back to the base, but this is where everything is shutting down. We're like at 87% that Shockwave's virus is
Hmm.
like working. But I thought it was very interesting because they made Ironhide young in this version, which is really cool because in all the other versions, Ironhide is this older soldier. So I actually liked it. I really like this version of him.
Yeah, and then so once again, we go back to like our trio.
Right. Okay. So let me give you a little history about Sound Blaster. So RC even says it was like, oh wow, he looks a lot like Soundwave, and like Bumblebee's like, don't mention that to him. He's very sensitive. He's actually a clone. Okay. Not a lot of people know about this, but going back to the original '80s Transformers series, even though it may have ended like around season 5, Japan continued animating some more stories. So in the Japanese animated version, Soundwave and from the Decepticons, and Blaster, one of my favorite Autobots, other than Wheeljack. I think Wheeljack is also the best. But they actually have one last battle in the Japanese animated version, and both Soundwave and Blaster die. And Soundwave does. A piece of him does get saved in the original and becomes a clone, and that is the birth of Sound Blaster. And so that was also interesting. Also, something very interesting is the symbol on Sound Blaster's chest. It wasn't really Autobot. It wasn't really Decepticon. I don't know if it was a combination, but I can't even say it was a Predacon symbol from
Hmm.
Beast Wars because it
Hmm.
wasn't that. But it was a different symbol. So I don't know if there's a different affiliation in this series altogether.
Yeah, and then however, when it comes to their plan, right? So the trio, they even though they were going there to get the Energon, they had like a plan set up to pretty much get Energon from him anyway. And however, Sound Blaster was onto the plan the entire time.
Mhm.
And then while that was happening, both Soundwave and Shockwave end up finding the Autobots base.
The arc.
Yes, and then on top of that, so going back to the Sea of Rust. Oh, oh, we had a lightning storm. We had some tornadoes. I mean, what else can happen, right? Zombies,
Yep, Transformer zombies.
robot zombies. It's like we can't get a break. Like, and the thing is, we go from pretty much Florida weather to zombies. So to see a rust, and it's like okay, so have to deal with that, and
All right. At this point, the virus has reached 100%. That has affected all Autobots' defenses and everything. So
yeah, so luckily, our trio they do end up escaping Sound Blaster. However, conveniently, Jean Grey from '90s X-Men style, Bumblebee faints, completely, completely loses like all the knowledge he had gained from the
Alpha
Alpha
and Triumph
Trion
Protocol.
protocol. Yeah, and then oh, but yeah, while that's happening, going back to the zombies.
Uh,
So yeah, Moonracer, who's one of the female Autobots, her arm gets tore off. She gets ate, and like the
yeah.
Walking Dead style, it was pretty traumatizing. And
No, yeah.
then Optimus Prime, he does like some like he
He
runs up a
finds.
ramp, he does a backflip, he does all these cool flips in the sky, and then like he ends up seeing this glowing like shining light, and he grabs it, and it's the Allspark.
Right. I feel so bad for Moonracer because just a couple of minutes sooner and Moonracer would have been alive.
Yeah, because when he got that, like all the zombies, like they died, so they were gone. But yeah, I feel the same way. It was just like, dag, like
Yeah.
Hasbro, like you just had to kill her off because they're like, oh, the female Autobot toys don't sell, so we don't need her in the movie that long.
Uh, that
But
was
yeah, that's
harsh.
pretty rough. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a pretty rough death.
Right.
So anyway, the trio they end up making it back to headquarters, and defenses everything is down due to the Decepticon virus.
All right, this is where I want to get back to the army of Decepticons. Like they pretty much their staple is the reflector. So like I said, reflector originally was three and formed a camera. Here they made them a bunch of like I guess pawns or drones because that's pretty much the staple of the whole army of Decepticons. It was like these mini reflectors, soldiers, So that was I found something interesting in the series.
Yeah, but like with the use of the Energon, they were able to power the base back. And when
Right.
they did that, that's when
Bumblebee wakes up.
Well, no, not only that, but also Teletran
Oh
one is activated.
yeah. Oh man, I gotta admit, I love this version of Teletran 1 so badly because the arc was badass. Like when Teletran 1 got woken up, like that little army of reflectors, oh yeah, they all got disintegrated. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, and now with the arc activated, Alita One now she's like leading the team, and she's like they're off to the space bridge.
Hmm. Yeah, this was hard because when remember right when Ratchet's about to activate the space bridge to
Yeah.
help him impact her.
Hmm.
He sacrifices his life to so that Ratchet can activate it.
Yeah, and then Optimus Prime makes it to the bridge. He ends up so him and Megatron, right? They're on the bridge. They're kind of like fighting. They're trying to get to because at some point Optimus Prime dropped the Allspark, so they're both climbing the bridge, and then just like Mufasa style,
Oh, he
Megatron just like kind of like lets go of Optimus Prime, like he pushes him and he like falls like a few feet down, so he's ahead of him. And then Optimus Prime pretty much he's saved, or I should say he's helped. He's helped by Bumblebee
right.
because Bumblebee ends up like distracting Megatron.
I thought the scene was kind of cool because I almost felt that this was a little redemption from the original Transformers movie. Reason I say that is like if you remember the movie, Optimus Prime is about to destroy Megatron, and Megatron sees a gun and he's ready to go for it. And that's when Hot Rod goes, "No, not so fast, Megatron!" But he gets in the way,
Hmm.
and and Megatron does end up really hurting Optimus Prime badly, causing his death. So in this version, Megatron is about to kind of like kill Optimus. So Bumblebee comes in, not so fast, and shoots Megatron. And that gives Optimus the chance, and he throws the Allspark into the space bridge.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure if that was to kind of redeem from the movie, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, so when that happened, that's when we hear like a rumble, the ground like tears apart, and then,
The Guardians. Guardians.
well, not well, just one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, one of the Guardians, Omega Supreme shows up, and then like Megatron's like, "Oh, so you done chose a side? You're supposed to be neutral."
And it is official, even Megatron says it, Omega Supreme, you chose a side. So that silhouette figure it's confirmed it is Omega Supreme.
Yeah, and then Omega Supreme was just like, "Nah, I ain't choose a side. I fight for. I make up my own mind. I don't speak for the Guardians. I'm here to like help out." Well, actually, no, you're right. He did choose a side.
Yeah.
It's just that he kind of acted on his own rather than it being a decision from all the Guardians.
Right.
And then, so while this is all going on,
They're
oh, you go ahead.
no, I was just saying they're all fleeing to the Ark.
Yeah, Red Alert. He ends up getting shy. He ends up falling down.
Yeah.
He
Oh
doesn't make it
my
onto the Ark.
gosh, I thought he died when I saw that.
Yeah, and then like Alita, she makes the decision to stay behind, which I was kind of like,
This is kind of funny, and a comment that I'm going to make going back to the original because Alita One wasn't really introduced in the original series probably till like season two or
yeah, I
three.
think it's like season two.
And anyway, with that being said, Optimus Prime has like a flashback and sees like Optimus and again, this is going back to the original '80s where Optimus is leaving on the Ark and Alita comes in. And it's like Optimus, no, don't, I'm going with you, and Optimus is like, no, Alita, I can't leave you behind. But the funny thing is that was never established in episode one. So I again in this version, I feel like they're trying to fix that little plot hole from the
Yeah,
original because here they at least do show Alita One is like where she says I'm staying behind. And so I feel like this is a fix of the plot hole from the original Transformers.
yeah, and so then from here, the arc it goes through the bridge, and yeah, and pretty
uh,
much it appears that maybe Arc may have blown it up or something. We're not sure. However, it's now the next morning, and our remaining Autobot team is Alita One, Chromia, Red Alert, who survived, and Jetfire.
Jetfire, and I'm sure the team has a couple more Autobots that we haven't seen.
Yeah,
But yeah, this is definitely again. I feel like again a fix from the original series because, in the original series, these female Autobots, Alita One, Moonracer, Chromia, they were behind on Cybertron, continuing the war on Cybertron, while the other Transformers were on Earth doing their thing. So again, I just feel like these are just fixing plot holes from the original.
Yeah, so that pretty much like concludes like the entire story. So Carlos,
Or
like what?
or does it?
Yeah, I mean it was the trilogy, so
No, no.
they done told us. It said in the beginning that this is a trilogy, so
Right.
there's gonna be more.
No, yeah, thankfully there will be like I'm sure there's going to be two more chapters, so
Mm.
that's good. No, yeah, and the reason I say that is because like right at the very end, Teletran 1 has one more thing where it's going unknown vessel approaching.
Yeah.
So that leads into chapter 2.
All right. So what are some of your final thoughts on
No,
this?
like I said, just like you said earlier, I wish there was actually more transforming into vehicle mode.
Hmm.
But overall, it really is a good. I definitely recommend people to watch it. Again, props to Jake Fushi because he did a wonderful Optimus Prime. If you haven't met it. If he has not met Peter Cullen, I would love it to see if they would do a skit together. I think that would be pretty funny and cool. And what else? But no, yeah, it was very good, and I mentioned already a lot of details already within it. So
Yeah, for me, it was. I would like to better understanding, I guess, of the philosophies of the Decepticons and the Autobots. I can understand like why they were warring with each other, like in this world. I'm a nerd, so yeah, I need to know that stuff.
mhm.
And then, yeah, like okay, so as for someone who is like who is a 3D artist, like there are certain things about like the art style that kind of bother me. More so the animation. I get what they're going for. They wanted to try to do it as like a modern update to like the G1 version and stay like true to that. But there's just some technical things with like the art style that kind of bother me. But that I could look past that and
Mhm.
just focus on storytelling. Jetfire, despite him being one of my favorite characters, like I don't know, the more we talk about it, we reviewed it again. It's just like it just seems so chaotic and all over the place in terms of what he was doing. I wish there was more emphasis put on Alita One and Optimus Prime's relationship, and I just wish that they had more emphasis on the relationship, and they did better with that. But with all that said, no, overall it's enjoyable. I can't wait for the second part.
Right, I'm actually looking forward to because the Dinobots.
Mhm.
If there is a season 2, I do hope that they create the Dinobots. Maybe even some combiners like Devastator or the Aerial Bots. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to what season 2 has to bring.
Yeah, just real quick, my theory is that they may go the route. I'm curious, fingers crossed. They may go the route of the Beast Wars situation a little bit, but kind of retell that story because I do know that Hasbro like they are releasing toys of Beast Wars in the near
Cool,
future. So I
excellent.
think that they're gonna do that. I think they're gonna use like the go along with the storyline with the Allspark kind of landing to Earth, and that also uh, started like life on Earth. I don't
Right.
remember if that was in Prime or if that was in animated, but I
Yeah,
remember that's part of the story where the Allspark actually created life on Earth as well.
right. And unfortunately, I feel like the Allspark is something kind of new because I'm familiar with the Matrix, but not the Allspark.
All right, so that's it on my end. Anything else?
No, tune in and roll out.
Yep. Make sure. Hopefully you like this and you come back and hear us talk some more, and then leave a comment or subscribe. Hit the like button, hit the dislike button if you like it, and yeah, tell us what you think. And until next time, everyone, we are tuning out. See ya.